Dr. Sharif Abdullah offers a unique, hopeful, and visionary perspective on the persistent challenges of our time. His perspective is shaped by his urban upbringing of poverty and violence, his Ivy League education, and his work with impacted communities in America and in 45 countries around the world. His spiritual outlook is rooted in the consciousness of dozens of religions, faith traditions, and spiritual practices. Sharif offers this unique viewpoint, helping us chart a course that explains where we've been, where we are now, and how we get to a positive future that works for all living beings.
Hello, Sharif here. And today we're going to continue the series we've been talking about mental health and mental illness, spiritual health and spiritual illness, and societal health and societal illness. And today we're going to talk about ways that we can connect with each other and ways that those connections can become powerful to heal ourselves, to heal the other, and to heal our entire society. I'm going to tell you some things that you probably know already, but I want to put a different twist on it so that you can see these things maybe a little better, or see how they relate to our lives, our personal lives, and then relate to our societal selves. You may know already that if I take a cell from my heart and put it in a Petri dish, put it in a nutrient solution, that cell will continue to pulse. If I take a cell from your heart, put it in a nutrient solution, that cell will continue to pulse. If you bring these two cells together, they will synchronize their pulses. They will synchronize on the strongest heart cell. Whichever one of these two cells is strongest, they will synchronize on the strongest heart cell. There's no connection between them. They're not touching each other. And scientists that believe in the concept of I am separate, keep trying to find ways to explain how these cells that are not touching each other can exchange information and start pulsing together. They're saying, well, maybe it's electromagnetic, or maybe there's some hormone that the cells are giving off that they're picking up. The bottom line, from our mender perspective, from our inclusive perspective, is that everything is connected. All living beings are connected, and these heart cells are living beings, and they're also connected. Okay, so if you know that, I want to tell you another story about how that connection works at a larger scale. I don't remember what country this came from, but there was a story about a woman who had given birth to twins, and one of the the twins were premature, so they were put in separate incubators, and one of the twins was doing well, and the other twin was doing very poorly. It was having heart failure. Its heart was failing. And the doctors did all the stuff that doctors do, and the twin was not getting any better. And the failing twin was close to death. And somebody made the decision to take the healthy twin and put the healthy twin in the same incubator with his brother. So they took the healthy twin, put him in the same incubator, and as soon as they did that, the healthy twin twisted and threw his arm around his brother, and their heartbeats synchronized on the strongest twin's heartbeat. And the strongest twin brought his brother back from the brink of death and helped to strengthen his heart and regularize his heartbeat. Now, I'm going to suggest to you that we do that all the time, every day. That everyone that you connect with, that you are strengthening their heartbeat. You're strengthening the connection between you, even though, I mean, this is true for your relatives, this is true for your loved ones, but it's also true for the people that you meet walking down the street. It's also true for the people that you're sitting in the coffee shop with in those countries where people can sit in coffee shops nowadays. Um, that that this connection between people is something that is vital for all of us. It's vital for the people um, who may have a failure of their heart. And I don't mean in the physical sense that, this vein is not pumping enough blood and there's not enough oxygen. And it's like, no, I mean, just their hearts are hard. Their hearts are maybe even unused or underused. And they have opportunities every single day to use that heart. Or it may be that for some reason they are facing a restriction in their heart, a restriction in the capacity of their heart, a restriction in how well they can be fed and how well they can feed others. And so every day you've got the opportunity to walk into the heart field of another. And even in this world with social distancing, according to the people at HeartMath, you have a heart field, an electromagnetic field that can be detected 25 feet from your body. So when you're doing 6-foot social distancing, you're still in the heart field of another. And when you're in that field, when you're conscious of being in the field, you can strengthen your own field and you can strengthen the field of the other. Now, what are the things that weaken your heart field? Well, we know what that is. It's fear. When you are afraid, even though the fear may be justified, so you see a hungry wolf growling at you. Well, you should probably be afraid. That doesn't happen all that much. But if you saw that, your heart would react. You start your heart would start beating really fast, and you start going into, do I fight, flight, or cry? But we also do that every single day when we're encountering other human beings that are not attacking us. I watch it in people's eyes and how they are choosing to deal with the COVID pandemic, that they're choosing to react by fear. I'm walking down the street and I'm seeing people avoiding my eyes. They see I'm coming and they look away, as though looking at a person can transmit COVID. I see them blocks away, crossing the street, as though 15 feet of distance isn't enough. I've got to make 50 feet of distance so I can stay safe. All of this chips away at your heart. All of this chips away at our social fabric. It chips away at the possibility of us interacting with each other as human beings. It chips away at the possibility of us bringing healing to each other. Now, at some point in time, we have to recognize that while COVID is real, I'm not a denier, while COVID is serious, and I'm serious, I take every single flu season seriously. I do the things to keep it away from me. That we also have to recognize that we're creating unintended consequences that are much more devastating than the COVID itself. It's interesting that when you look at the statistics that we keep regarding COVID, they're being sliced and diced and fed to us in a million different ways. But ask somebody, what did COVID and the COVID restrictions do to our suicide rate? Guess what? You can't find that information out. I look for the information. I'm waiting for somebody to talk about it. I'm waiting for somebody to tell me what that is. And we'll see news about the grandmother in, Italy or Argentina where they came down with COVID recently, but they can't give you the vital information that is sitting right in front of us. Our challenge is, how do we bring healing in all ways to our society? Not just in one way where I'm wearing a mask and I'm staying away from people and I'm ruining an entire economy in order for me to wear a mask and stay away from people. I'm exacerbating a suicide rate that was already astronomical. We never talked about the pandemic of suicide, already astronomical, and making it worse because of this other disease. It's time for us to start practicing sanity. We're not getting it from our leaders. We're not getting it from our media. Definitely, insanity sells, and the more insane stuff I can put out there, the better. Better for the media, I should say. So we're the ones that have to start acting like adults. We're the ones that have to start practicing inclusivity. We're the ones that have to start acting toward each other as though each one of us matters, as though each one of us is worthy of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that each one of us is an essential element in our vision of a world that works for all living beings. Now, once we get there, once we have a critical mass of people in each community, and I don't know what critical mass is. It could be as small as 10 or 12 people in each community. It could be that we need 100 people in each community. But once you get a critical mass of people holding a coherent vision, that vision is going to manifest. We know it, and yet we think, oh, well, that vision will come along somewhere. Some great leader will come and will say, the Dalai Lama will come and will say the right words and we'll all step in line. That ain't happening. It's not going to happen, or it's not going to happen in time. What it needs is you. What it needs is you doing the right thing. What it needs is you, for example, practicing the 12 global challenges, practicing the 12 steps of inclusivity, practicing as though we were the beginning, the leading edge of a whole new society. Once we see, now that we're seeing the old society dying, we see that the steps all around us. It's time for us to change our vision. Instead of looking at the problem, it's time for us to look at the solution. It's time for us to recognize there's not going to be a solution unless I'm the one holding it, unless we are the ones holding it, unless we are coming together with others who are holding the vision of a world that works for all. If you agree with this, there's a couple of things you can do right this second, and that is look at the buttons below, hit like, hit subscribe. One of the things you can do right now is copy the URL for this video, send it to 4 or 5 of your friends and say, let's talk together about what we can do to hold this vision in our community. I'll do everything I can to support you in doing that. Together we can do it. if what you do is just switch to the next video or turn the TV on or whatever, well, you can do that too, and somebody else will be responsible for creating the new society. I'd like us all to do that, and I have a couple more messages to talk about the depth of the mental illness problem, and then the height of how we're going to get beyond that and get to a world that works for all beings. So thank you.
You are invited to participate in the discussions and activities that will define a positive future for all. We are at the cusp of the expansion of our human consciousness beyond the limitations of our past. Together, we can envision a world that embraces our human potential. Together, we can create a world that can truly work for all living beings.